By order of the Overseer Council and the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the following file describes a TICONDEROGA-Class anomalous entity and is Level 4, 4444, classified. Unauthorized access is forbidden.
Item number SCP-4444. Containment Class, Esoteric. Secondary Class, Ticonderoga. Disruption Class, VLAN. Risk Class, Warning. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-4444 is contained under the protocols established by the Foundation Classification Committee upon the introduction of the Ticonderoga Object Class. This class, created specifically for SCP-4444, establishes rules and procedures for managing the ongoing containment of entities that are either too powerful or too evasive for the Foundation to contain using available technologies, but due to their nature do not require any sort of extensive containment procedures. The protocols established by the Ticonderoga class are as follows. SCP-4444 is to be under constant, discreet supervision, including while in its own home. Neither Foundation or UIU personnel are to attempt to apprehend SCP-4444, as doing so has proven only to aggravate its anomalous characteristics. Both the Foundation and the UIU are to have a staff of trained crisis negotiators on site in order to facilitate discussions with SCP-4444 should it become aggravated. Due to SCP-4444's demeanor, this has proven an effective strategy in negotiating resolutions to anomalous outbursts. Neither the Foundation nor the UIU are to attempt to remove SCP-4444 from the head of former United States Vice President Al Gore. Doing so has only proven to aggravate the entity, resulting in near breaches of containment. Al Gore's public appearances are to be limited with his agreement in order to prevent possible exposure of SCP-4444's anomalous abilities. After a 9-2 classification committee vote, it was resolved that the Ticonderoga class be established for use in monitoring SCP-4444's actions. Due to the protocols of the Ticonderoga class, SCP-4444 can be quickly moved to a different object class without the need for a classification committee vote, should it begin to show signs of disruptive anomalous activity. So far, this has not proven necessary. As part of an agreement with the United States government, SCP-4444 is to be jointly monitored by available Foundation assets, some of whom are to make up its personal security detachment, along with agents from the UIU. Beyond this observation and further auxiliary research, no other containment procedures are required by current Ticonderoga class protocols. Access to this file will be made available to both Foundation and UIU personnel with appropriate clearances. Description: SCP-4444 is an incorporeal, extra-dimensional entity that has been cohabiting the body of former United States Vice President Albert Arnold Gore Jr., presumably since late 1998. This entity is invisible to the naked eye, but appears under infrared as a long, slender, translucent hexagonal pyramid with 6 triangular vents, one at the top of each of its 6 faces, emerging from the upper back of Vice President Gore's head. The entity is inscribed with numerous glyphs written in an alien language, many of which glow when it's co-opting the voice of Vice President Gore. SCP-4444 is capable of altering the dimensionality of Vice President Gore, allowing him to become incorporeal in order to evade or escape containment. When doing this, SCP-4444 begins to glow brightly under infrared, and both itself and the Vice President become capable of walking through any and all physical barriers. Foundation engineers have not yet discovered the technology capable of restraining SCP-4444, making it impossible to maintain containment of the entity. Beyond this, SCP-4444 appears to have a number of other anomalous abilities, making it a consistent threat to informational awareness breach. Despite this, since the end of the 2000 United States presidential race, SCP-4444 has expressed none of these anomalous abilities. SCP-4444 refers to itself as part of a massive collective of similar entities. It responds to the name Garber Gore, and can speak by co-opting the voice of Vice President Gore through its speech patterns. Though its speech patterns are unusual and typically difficult to parse, likely due to the translation barriers between SCP-4444's native means of communication and Vice President Gore's brain. SCP-4444's stated intention for arriving on Earth was a reconnaissance mission for its collective, a group of similar extra-dimensional conical entities who travel across the universe, searching for a new sentient beings to cohabitate with. By SCP-4444's own admission, the result of this cohabitation usually results in the destruction of the host planet, typically due to greenhouse failure. As SCP-4444 and presumably other instances like it produces an unusually high amount of greenhouse gases when directly exposed to solar radiation. SCP-4444 has also admitted that its population would not travel to Earth unless it had cohabited the mind of the most powerful entity on the planet in order to assure that the arrival of the other extra-dimensional beings would not be impeded by whatever power that entity represented. When SCP-4444 arrived in late 1998, it mistakenly believed that person was Vice President Al Gore. Realizing its mistake too late and being unable to remove itself from the Vice President's head, SCP-4444 then set upon its goal of being elected to the United States' highest office. Addendum 4444.1 Discovery SCP-4444 was discovered by two agents of the Unusual Incidents Unit, both of whom were assigned to President Bill Clinton's Secret Service at the time. The agents, codenamed Ringwald and Porterhouse, were listening in to the following phone conversation held between President Clinton and Joe Andrew, who was at the time the chair of the Democratic National Committee.
This is the President. Oh, it's Joe. Joe, hey man, how have you been? We were just talking about you the other day. You know we've got that dinner coming up and... Yeah, I know Bill, but look, we've got something weird going on. I thought I'd talk to you first. What's that? I just got off the phone with the Vice President and he told me that he's going to be running in 2000. Is that right? Hell yeah, good for Al. He'll be great. Yeah, see, that's the thing, Bill. He starts talking about how he's got some sort of... I don't know what he said, like some sort of extraterrestrial living in his brain and how... Extraterrestrial? You mean like E.T.? Precisely, sir. He starts talking about how this alien in his noggin wants to run for president so it can sodomize the world or some such nonsense. It was really off his rocker. I mean, you know Al. He's gotten into some stuff before. Might have just been a bit of the refer or... No, see, I thought that too. I called Daniels, his security chief. Says he has been sitting in his office all night trying on heads. Hasn't touched anything. No reefer, not a drop of booze. He said he's walked in on him a few times talking to himself. It's the most bizarre thing. You know Joe, might have just been the stress getting to him. There were a couple of nights early on where I would just start seeing Mickey Mantle sitting in my closet and I'd have these big long conversations with them. Ask Hillary, she could hear them from the next room. It's just the stress, Joe. Nothing to worry. That's not all, sir. Daniel said he had the door closed earlier and he just walked through the door like it wasn't there. Walked straight over the fridge and stuck his hand through it like some sort of apparition or something. And pulled a can of Coke out like it was a ghostly beverage. He's got his whole team spooked right now. Bill, we've got that state dinner coming up and I'll be honest, I don't know if we can take him out like this. Yeah, that's probably not the reefer then.
In the wake of this initial incident, agents Ringwald and Porterhouse alerted operatives at UIU Central, who moved in to contain the Vice President and ascertain the nature of his anomaly. Unfortunately, due to that anomaly, the Vice President could not be restrained and insisted he was fine. When it became apparent that the anomaly was outside of the UIU's ability to control, assets within that organization reached out to the Foundation. Once the Foundation discovered that SCP-4444 was outside of their ability to contain as well, alternate containment protocols were discussed. Addendum 4444.2 Interview. The following interview was conducted between Site Director Alex Mabel, Site 14, FBI Associate Director of Special Units, Adam Speroni, and Vice President, Al Gore, SCP-4444.
Alright, let's begin. SCP-4444, you have... It's Mr. Gore, for Christ's sake. He's still the goddamn Vice President of the... No, Adam, please. It's alright. Let's let the gentleman talk and see what he has to say. Thanks. Mr. Gore, as you well know, we've recently been following your actions and have noticed some peculiar changes in your behavior. Well, I can't imagine what those might be. I still put my pants on like the other guys, one leg at a time. Yeah, see, you actually seemed to phase into your pants the other day. They think you're like some sort of spook or phantom. Mr. Vice President, are you a spook or a phantom? Well, golly, I mean, I don't think so. I don't think I've partaken in any hauntings as of late. At least none that I can remember. Mr. Gore, we did a routine scan of your home using thermal and infrared cameras to see if we could detect any unusual activity. And it seems that you have a meter-long incorporeal spike coming out of the back of your head. Now that's silly. Look, don't you think I'd noticed some sort of long implement protruding from back there? Of course, sir. Definitely, sir. It's just that... You haven't had any strange dreams recently, have you, sir? Or maybe some kind of unusual cravings? Well, now that you think of it, I did have a dream the other night about some food I had a while back. I don't get many food dreams, you know? There, see? Just a food dream. He's not... Mr. Gore, you wouldn't be harboring any alien intelligences, would you? The frivolous, false-taking nonsense. Excuse me? Hang on, say that again, sir. What in the name of Mary is this? Hello, is there anyone else in there? Wonder nuts. Name of Gore, presidented? Huh? Hello there, my name is Director Mabel and we... Well, hang on now, Garber, I haven't done proper introductions yet. The Furious, Valency uptake the nonsense. Gore accounted, identification where on the other. I think he wants your name, Speroni. I'm Adam Speroni. Well, boys, I suppose the old cat is out of the bag. Seems like I've gotten an unintended traveler through this thing called life. This is Garber, last name Gore. He has taken up residence in the old dome here, see? When did you first encounter this being? Incandescence, electrogenous, indeterminable. Well, let's see, it was a few nights ago, I believe. I had just turned in for the night when I heard someone talking in my room. I turned the light on, you know, and Tipper wasn't there, but I still kept hearing his voice. Turns out it was my old buddy Garber here, turning into my brain. Is it making you talk like that? I think old Garber doesn't really see things like you and me. He's just sort of gets his meaning across and it sounds all funny. He's a real funny dude, very peculiar. Yeah, seems like it. Mr. Vice President, do you believe you're experiencing any changes in thought or mood? Any sort of psychological or emotional shifts at all? You know, I think maybe... Ever since Garber set up shop in my head, there's definitely a union going on there. Sometimes it's hard to tell where the line between L and Garber is, you know? We're like best friends, lifelong pals. It's sort of funny, you know? I hadn't actually considered running or anything, but Garber is very persuasive. Garber, what is the purpose for being here on Earth? I think the sustenance of Garber, solution is desire undertaking encouragement. Downsize the conquest, strongest, most strong. Gore presidented misunderstanding, strongest misunderstanding vice unequated. Goofy unnecessity for implementation Gore only thinks then. Improvement situation by majority gathering selectors to vote. Gore succeeded presidential, encouragement arriving the greater Garber. What the fuck does any of that mean? Well, I think old Garber here is trying to say he had a bit of a mix-up. He got confused, you see. He wanted to drop himself in the noggin of the most powerful man on the planet and got me and Bill mixed up. I told him I was flattered, you know, but that he really had the wrong man. I don't think Garber can just pop out of my brain here, though. So he's decided that, so to say, we have decided that we're going to run for president in 2000. Incongruous. Unfortunately, that won't be possible. We're going to need to bring you in our facility for additional observation. Mr. Gore and... Now hang on there, Alex. This man is the sitting Vice President of the United States. You can't just whisk him away to one of your doodle sites somewhere for probing of the rectum or whatever sort of homo shit you get into there. It's Baroni. He's got an alien spike embedded in the back of his skull. And he's needed for important government work. It's just unworkable. He's the vice president's Baroni. Give me a break. Alright, fair, but I'm sorry to interrupt you, gentlemen, but unfortunately there is no way about it. Garber and I will run in 2000, and there is not much you can do to slow me down. Garber here doesn't seem to operate fully in the 3 dimensions you and I know. So anytime he wants, he can just float on right out of here like some sort of ghostly balloon. I wouldn't tempt him either. I can tell he's got a real itchy trigger finger in there. You know, we can't allow that. Well, then I guess you better scoot on out of here and get to thinking. Because old Al is fixing to roll up on the big chair. Well, shit.
Addendum 4444.3 Joint Foundation and UAU Deliberations. The following is a transcript of a meeting at the Pentagon between several high-ranking members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's UAU, as well as members of the Foundation's regional leadership. The meeting was called due to the high threat SCP-4444 or its anomalous properties would be discovered by the public. Internal audio recording transcript. In attendance, U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Director Louis J. Free. U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Projects Manager Dr. Ophelia Clark. U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Unusual Incidents Unit Director Winston Bishop. U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation's Unusual Incidents Unit Assistant Director Howard Dean. U.S. Army General James Rowland. SCP Foundation Regional Director Dr. Sophia Light. SCP Foundation Director of Personnel Jack Bright. SCP Foundation Assistant Director of Public Awareness Dr. Jeremiah Cimmerian. SCP Foundation Director of Occult Technologies Dr. Kain-Pathos-Crow. SCP Foundation Acting Director of Occult Studies doctor-clef.
Let's get started. Director Free, thank you for joining us. My pleasure. We just want to get this resolved as quickly as possible. As do we. Now, as you all may know, we spent some time at Vice President Gore's home this last week, trying to work out the details of how we might get him out of the situation he is in. I'll refer to my Director of Occult Technologies about the progress we've made there. Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Director. We've been looking into... It is a talking dog. Quite. Now, as I was saying, we've been looking into the entity that has affixed itself to the back of the Vice President's head. And I'll say it's a cheeky bastard. These sort of incorporeals always are. Agent Clef can second me on this matter.
Oh, what, me?
Yes, of course you also. Do us the service of telling us what your team has learned about this entity.
Alright, well, it's a motherfucker, that's for sure. Impossible to interact with, physically, due to its structure, which exists within many parallel dimensions simultaneously. That we can tell. It doesn't interact with the world like we do. We don't think it can see, it's just got those bent things on the outside of it, and no way we can tell it's perceiving a 3-dimensional world. Hell, even if those are probably just for decoration or something.
For decoration?
Yeah man, it's fucked. So we did some looking at the Vice President's brain, and it's suffice to say that it's really all sorts of messed up back there where the entity comes into contact with. It's not his brain that's the problem, just sort of space inside his skull is all akimbo. I mean, he's fine, like, he's still all there, his personality hasn't changed too bad or anything. He's just got an alien living in there too.
Indeed, so my team has been developing some technology that we might use to yank that screw right off the Vice President's head. This, let me see here. Ah, yes, wonderful. This is an incorporeal entity vacuum chamber, you see? Sort of a new design for us. We've had some good luck with containing all sorts of incorporeal entities with this bad boy, including a number of ghouls and what have you. It's a promising technology.
The downside is that when you put things that aren't ghosts in there, they explode.
Yes, well, when you put it that way also, there are still considerations to be had. Look, we're not interested in blowing up the Vice President. If we wanted to do that, we'd just do it. Do we know anything about this creature's intention? What does it want?
Yes, actually, in our dealings with the Vice President and the SCP-4444 entity, we've determined that it intends to run for the office of President of the United States. My god, this is it, isn't it? It's the invasion. It's the invasion, I knew it. We've been preparing for this for years. No, not necessarily the way you're probably imagining. The entity claims to be part of a swarm of similar extra-dimensional entities, some greater collective that go from planet to planet, using the thoughts of the populace as food, and then leaving once the greenhouse gases they produce hotbox the planet. So why aren't they just doing that? These entities don't appear to understand the extent of their abilities or even that they're incorporeal. So much of what we could consider their culture is based on a misunderstanding that they are somehow weaker than corporeal beings because they don't properly differentiate between it. The entity has made it clear that they don't want to arrive on a planet until they've got one of their own positioned into the most powerful single creature on this planet, because otherwise that entity and the native inhabitants of the planet could annihilate them. Maybe this has happened to them at some point in the past. Regardless, we currently believe they think that person is President Clinton. But that position is about to be open. Precisely. We're going to continue to let Dr. Crow and his team work on finding a way to remove that thing from the Vice President's skull, but in the meantime, our best bet might just be to support his opposition in the upcoming election. We think if we can make Vice President Gore unelectable, then the entities might just pass over us, thinking we're too dangerous a threat, and our nail in Mr. Gore's head might leave on its own. Good lord, you're talking about undermining the very essence of American democracy. That's unspeakable. If you think this is the first time we've fucked up your elections, I've got some bad news for you there, Bob.
So, why not just rig the election? You seem to have the resources necessary to do so. Why not just declare someone else the winner? That's nice of you to think so, but the fact is that rigging an election on this scale without somebody finding out and alerting the press is an unacceptable risk. There are too many moving parts. Even if we only targeted a few swing states, as dangerous as leaving the SCP-4444 entity uncontained is, trying to swing the election in favor of another candidate through brute force might reveal us entirely. We have resources, but we're not omnipotent.
We'll need to be put in contact with Governor Bush's campaign, but we can start rolling out disinformation before the end of the week. Something wrong?
I imagine it hasn't hit the papers just yet. Governor Bush was shot last night. He was hunting and got a stray bullet right above the ear. The swelling put pressure on his brain and he was done before they got him to a hospital. God, is dead? No, he is still breathing, but nobody's home. They're saying it's brain dead. They'll likely pull him off the ventilator here in a few hours. They're just waiting for his family to fly in. I imagine we'll hear an announcement from them soon. That's unfortunate. But he is still breathing, right? Yes. So his body is still working. Like, all the bits are still functional? I mean, yes, but I don't know how this is relevant to... I think I know how we're going to oppose the Vice President's campaign. Oh no, you fucking don't.
Addendum 4444.4 Filed internal complaints regarding SCP-4444's ongoing containment procedures. Foundation Department of Personnel Resources. Official complaint form.
Complaint recipient. Foundation's Ethics Committee. Site Directors Council. North American Regional Command. Sophia Light. The Overseer Council for All Care. Complaint originator. Jack. Complaint title. What the you... Yeah, hey guys, it's Jack. I don't know who passed the vote to let this remarkable travesty take place, but it's not going to fly. I let you do the monkey thing because it was funny, but this is not. 8 million lookalikes in the world and your best laid plan is to into the corpse of some rancho? Yeehaw, go get him, cowgirl. How the would you like it if somebody knocked you the out and you woke up smelling like cheap beer and pretty horrible, I'd imagine. That show would suck, wouldn't it? I can't even take a sit down on the john and squeeze and no. They had to put a pump in there just to squeeze the out. My doesn't work. I constantly smell like the and Layman is getting his off because he says I look like a chimpanzee. Him and you. How about this for an idea? Next time one of you eggheads gets it in your
thick skulls that you've got something clever in the works. Take that and see if they have to put a pump in you to push it out. I bet it probably wouldn't help. Yours truly, get Jack. P.S. And if Sophia has to read this, you can tell her she can...
Addendum 4444.5 Presidential Race Disinformation Campaigns. Before it could be announced that Governor George W. Bush had passed away from damage done to his brain, Foundation and Bureau operatives collected the body and moved it to a Foundation medical center where the damaged parts of the brain could be restored. After the treatment was complete, SCP-963 was applied to the brain-dead body of Governor Bush. As expected, Director Bright assumed the form of Governor Bush. Afterwards, with the 2000 United States presidential race now in full swing, the Foundation's Department of Public Disinformation began drafting methods to discredit Vice President Gore during the campaign. Attached is a list of some of those methods, the majority of which were discarded. Disinformation Campaign Proposal 4444-23 Codename Tarbelly Proposal: create disinformation that accuses Vice President Gore of poisoning the water in a small third world town or village out of spite. Can also be upgraded to a larger third world town or small American suburb, if necessary. Status: rejected. No towns with reasonably convincing poisoned water supplies. Disinformation Campaign Proposal 4444-26 Codename Porky. Proposal: create altered images implying that Vice President Gore once engaged in sexual relations with a pig. Uncertain whether larger or smaller pigs would generate a more negative response. Status: rejected. No farm experience as a child. Additionally, photo editing methods are insufficient to create a believable image of the Vice President engaging in sexual relations with a pig. Disinformation Campaign Proposal 4444-51 Codename Star Wars. Proposal: produce disinformation that Vice President Gore both believes in and believes he has communicated with a space alien. Status: rejected. Due to the sensitive nature of Vice President Gore's anomaly, it was determined that a disinformation campaign so closely linked to the truth would be ill-fated. Disinformation Campaign Proposal 4444-76 Codename The Other Monica. Proposal: propose disinformation that Vice President Gore was in actuality the individual involved in the Clinton sex scandal and that Monica Lewinsky was brought in to take the fall for the illicit affair. Status: accepted. On a 5-4 vote, a Containment Committee Special Proposals Board approved a plan to introduce information to discredit Vice President Gore by insinuating he had been involved in a homosexual love affair with President Bill Clinton. This information was leaked just before the incident now known as the September debate, unwittingly leading to what nearly became the largest breach of informational security in modern Foundation history. Addendum 4444.6 The September Debate. While Director Crow's team continued working on technology to allow them to interact with the incorporeal SCP-4444, Dr. Bright, posing as Governor Bush, and SCP-4444, interacting through Vice President Gore, agreed to an early debate, one immediately before the 3 primary October debates. In reality, the debate was set up by Foundation personnel in order to control the environment in which the candidates would be debating, in order to assure that any potential information security risks could be managed. The debate was held at the Plainfield Christian Church in Plainfield, Indiana. Journalist Jim Lehrer was brought in to moderate the debate. The video stream from the debate was set on a 3-minute delay to account for possible anomalous disruptions throughout the broadcast. The following is the full transcript of the video recording of this event. Hello everyone, and thank you for coming out to tonight's Crossroads of American Town Hall debate, sponsored by the Eli Lilly cooperation between the Republican candidate for president, George W. Bush of Texas, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Al Gore. Tonight's debate will be structured like this. We will be selecting members of the audience to come up towards the stage to one of these 2 microphones here and addressing their questions to the candidates directly. We ask that nobody take more than 15 seconds to ask their questions, after which the candidate they have addressed will have 3 minutes to respond. The other candidate will have 1 minute of rebuttal. My job is to keep things moving. Now, without further ado, Governor George W. Bush and Vice President Al Gore. Mr. Vice President, Mr. Governor, welcome to beautiful Plainfield, Indiana. Thank you for being here with us. Yes, and thank you, Jim. A real pleasure to be here.
Yes, and thank you, Jim. Thank you more, in fact.
Let's start with our first question. Go ahead and tell us your name and who your question is for. Hi, my name is Stacy Schrugel, and my question is for the Vice President. In the primaries, you talked a lot about your leadership abilities and your experience in the White House. What do you think makes you a more capable leader than Governor Bush? 3 minutes, Mr. Vice President. Well, that's a great question, Jim and Stacy. I'd like to thank you for asking it. Over the last 8 years, I've experienced numerous struggles while working as a member of the executive branch. It is my honor to do so. But I also learned a lot from that. Specifically, I learned that you need a cool head in the Oval Office to ensure America's interests are protected. As are the interesting compliances, whereabout mattering complacencies, and troglodyte hernias. When you see someone sitting in that chair, you want to know for sure that they are the best ambivalent, vigorous, concrete caliber available for the job. And you can be sure that a vote for Gore is an underestimated vote for respectability, neutrality, lampposts. I see. Governor Bush, your response?
I think what my tongue-tied opponent here is trying to say is that you want the best man for the job in that chair. America, I am the best man for the job. I've run a clean ship down in Texas. No funny business. We take care of our own and protect the things that matter the most to Texans. Does that mean we put retards in the chair sometimes? Maybe. Maybe it does mean that. Maybe it means we burn through gas like an 80-year-old smoker in an iron lung, thus with her parliaments. It's like my pappy always said, you gotta scramble some eggs if you want to make an omelette. Oh baby, do we scramble some eggs? Look 'em in there, and let 'em fry. I'll tell you one thing though.
Mr. Governor, your time
There's two things that ain't gonna be in my White House. The first is communists. We broke the red menace 10 years ago, and we ain't gonna be inviting her back. The second is secretary fuckers. In a posh White House, you can know for damn sure we're only fucking one thing, our wives, aggressively. And the retard, of course. But you know what they say. You can take the boy out of Texas, but you can't take the Texas out of the boy.
Alright, well, okay, so let's move on to our next question. Yes, you, there, go ahead and give us your name, and... Yeah, this question is for Vice President Gore. Excuse me, the next question needs to be for the Governor, a writer for the Post, and at the conclusion of this event we are going to be dropping a story about how it was actually you under the desk instead of Monica Lewinsky, and that you, President Clinton, framed that girl to cover your illicit love affair. Is that true?
You know, Jim, I'd also really love to hear the answer to this question.
No, that's not... Hang on one gosh darn minute there, George. Is this some kind of setup? I didn't have anything to do with the events you...
1 minute there, Mr. Vice President, because if you'll see here, I have photographic evidence of this illicit behavior. You'll note you there, down on your knees, and...
Well, that's just preposterous. I wouldn't ever...
I don't know, Al. That looks pretty convincing to me.
Now you just...
Here's what I'll ask you all, America. Do you want to see a strong man in the chair, or a weak man under it? All part of the plan, boys. Call it my strategy. Got him.
Cover unacceptable addition, convention, terraformer to dark magician.
Spill.
Rigorous enchantability, vex papyrus in the dust, conflagration imitate the date, and this phosphorus cacophony. I'm a serious candidate, gosh darn it, and I demand to demonstrate diversified intersection atmosphere. Spruce Goose Vamoose, Gore elected in the superfluous agreement.
During the events of the September debate, when it became clear that Director Bright was not cooperating with expected procedure, the majority of broadcasts were shut down.
One smaller station, however, continued broadcasting throughout. A cover story of technical difficulties at the event was given to all cancelled broadcasts, and a massive cover-up began for those households who had watched the entirety of the filmed event. Class A amnestics were given to all suspected viewers. Additional amnestics had to be given in to those in the path of SCP-4444 who ran unimpeded by obstacles all the way from the debate site to a barn in western Ohio, where it hid in an upper loft for 3 days before being convinced to come down. Afterwards, Director Bright was disciplined by the Ethics Committee for his actions during the debate, as was the special committee that had approved the Disinformation campaign. Members of the Republican campaign committee approached the Vice President's team and agreed to strict rules for all upcoming debate, which SCP-4444 was willing to agree to. After Director Bright met with a disciplinary committee consisting of Regional Director Light, Assistant Director Moose, Director Holland, Director Mann, Director Wilson, and Assistant Director Ammon, he agreed to terms regarding the October debates. Addendum 4444.7 Television ads. While SCP-4444's eccentric speech patterns and unusual behavior was able to be mitigated during the debates through the use of video and audio editing, its campaign, staffed in part by undercover members of the UIU, began realizing ads on television stations around the country. While many of these ads were of no consequence, several of them were aggressively eccentric and breached information security, and were not allowed to run on public stations. However, in order to satisfy SCP-4444's desire to see them run, satellite televisions were installed on the Vice President's HQ bus, through which undercover agents would play tapes of the removed ads instead of regular between-program advertisements. Hello, America. My name is Al Gore, your Vice President. What you see behind me is a farm. There are many like it on our planet. This farm has cows in it. Have you ever seen a cow? This is a cow, and this cow can produce 1,000 tons of methane every year. That methane is what's called a greenhouse gas, and if enough of it gets into the atmosphere, it's lights out for our planet. Did you know that there are some creatures out there that can double or quadruple that output in a day? It's more true than you think, and some of those creatures might be living here, right on Earth, very soon. So tape up the anuses of your cows, so that harmful methane can't get into the atmosphere. Everyone needs to do their part to offset the greenhouse gases, so that if any other hypothetical creatures come here that create much more of those gases, the Earth can hang on a little longer before dying. My name is Al Gore, a fledgling nocturne annalism fellow Gore, and we want to tape American bags over American cow anuses. Gregarious, Michael Art Edition designated Gore. Cat. You know what's in style nowadays? Cats. Also, shaving the back of your head. Monks did it once. Gore expectations upon men to disinfect point disparity the population approaches. Shave those heads. For America. Shave 'em, Buster. Addendum 4444.8 Global-occult-coalition inquiries. Throughout the election of 2000 and during the establishment of initial containment procedures for SCP-4444, rumors began circulating in paranormal investigative groups that the Vice President was possessed by a demon. Several of these groups, namely the fledgling Knights of Truth, internet-based paranormal truther group, began circulating a number of conspiracy theories regarding the Vice President. These included: Vice President Al Gore is an alien. Vice President Al Gore is carrying an alien child. Vice President Al Gore was seen flying over Minneapolis wearing nothing but black dress socks. Vice President Al Gore is a non-specific ghost or apparition. Vice President Al Gore is the ghost of Rutherford B. Hayes. Vice President Al Gore was a ghost, but then possessed by the body of Al Gore and is no longer a ghost. Vice President Al Gore has spectral ties to a psychic terrorist group living in Pakistan. Vice President Al Gore is neither an alien nor a ghost, but is instead a shapeshifter from Mars. Vice President Al Gore is Bigfoot. Vice President Al Gore is the ghost of Bigfoot. Vice President Al Gore is the ghost of an alien Bigfoot. Due to the abundance of conspiracy theories and potential sightings reported during the early days of 2000, the Unusual Incidents Unit was contacted on several occasions by ranking members of the global-occult-coalition and were concerned about the potential anomalous nature of the Vice President. A transcript of one of those calls is below.
FBI Special Requests Line, this is Ronaldo. Good morning, Ronaldo. It's General Norija at the United Nations.
Good morning, General. I don't believe we were expecting to hear from you this morning.
No, you weren't. This is just a courtesy call, nothing business related.
Of course. What can I help you with?
Look, I'll be straight with you, Ronaldo. You may have lied about this not being business. See, we've been hearing some pretty unsettling things coming out of Washington about this election, and well, we've just got some concerns. I was hoping you'd be able to clear some of these up.
Absolutely. We haven't had any reports of paranormal activity in Washington recently, so this should...
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's not really Washington, Ronaldo. It's the Vice President.
Vice President Gore, sir?
Yes, that's one. See, we have some concerns.
About the Vice President?
Very same. We have some concerns that he might be in some way affiliated with some sort of demonic presence or supernatural ghoul.
That's certainly concerning.
You understand now why we are concerned?
I do, yes, but there is no need for concern, General. We haven't detected any sort of unusual activity surrounding the Vice President recently.
Really? None at all?
None at all.
That's just so strange, because I'm looking right now in my hand at a picture of the Vice President, and I'll be honest, it looks like he's got a real supernatural look about him.
Supernatural, sir?
The very same. A real queer visage, if you understand my meaning. See, in this picture I have the Vice President appears to be floating out of the wall of a second-story room at his house. I'd call that queer myself.
Very queer. I haven't seen this picture. That would be something to see. You haven't seen anything about the Vice President walking through walls.
Now hang on 1 second. You mean to tell me you haven't heard or seen anything peculiar about the Vice President? Not even about how he is in league with a nefarious group of wall walkers?
Do you think the Vice President can walk through walls, General?
No, hang on. I didn't say that. I'm just asking about queer business, Ronaldo.
You just make it sound like you think the Vice President can walk through walls.
Well, not necessarily, but I mean, I have this picture and...
Have you seen the Vice President walk through any walls, General Norija?
Well, no, but...
Has anyone you know and trust seen the Vice President walk through any walls?
Probably not, but...
General Norija, where did you find that picture? General?
Alright, fine, we found it on the internet. We've just been hearing about this unsavory business about the Vice President, and when we saw this shit, we figured we had to take a look into it. Right? I said this was just a courtesy call, not official business. Come on now, Ronaldo, give me a break. Like, I would think the Vice President can walk through walls. I never said that. Remember? Nor would I. That's preposterous.
Agreed, sir.
Alright, well, good talking to you, Ronaldo. Keep us posted if you see any unusual activity.
Of course, sir.
Very good. Good day.
Goodbye, sir.
Addendum 4444.9 November 7th, 2000. On November 7th, 2000, citizens across America began casting their votes for the presidency of the United States. Early polls showed a slight advantage for Governor Bush, which almost immediately evaporated after major news networks declared Florida to Vice President Gore. Foundation agents across the country began enacting emergency protocols attempting to disrupt voting while maintaining discretion. The majority of these attempts failed, as there simply were not enough agents available to maintain these efforts. Shortly before 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, after major networks announced that Vice President Gore had taken Florida, a contingency plan was enacted, codenamed Red Velvet, that would hopefully ensure the ongoing survival of the human race should the Vice President win the election. The following telephone conversation took place between 05-2, Director 3 of the FBI, and Regional Director Light.
So, we're decided then? Yes, the Council has made its determination. After everything that has happened, this may be your only opportunity to make a move.
How do we know the other entities won't see through our attempts? What if they just send another one of those things down here to supplant the next president? We have precautions against that now. We've installed Director Crow's vacuum nullifiers, just like the one we set up at the Democratic Campaign headquarters. Enough to all major world leaders that we shouldn't expect any of them to slip through. Especially if they are targeting American officials, and you're going to handle the disinformation. We are. A gas leak at the hotel should hide the grittiest details, and our crews will clean up the mess. Are you even sure your device will work? You talk about these vacuum nullifiers like you've used them before.
It'll work.
Alright, fuck me. I had hoped we wouldn't have to do this. I'm not going to pretend like we haven't iced public officials before, but on the night they're elected president, this is bold, even for you. And if it doesn't work,
We prepare for doomsday. We're already watching the skies.
this is horrible. I know, and we wouldn't if... Hang on, what? You have your TV on? Yeah, why? Oh my, he's coming back. He's coming back.
What? What do you mean?
Oh my god, oh my. Oh shit. We're filling the basement of that hotel with gas. Gotta go.
As the results in Florida began to swing back towards Governor Bush, Foundation and Bureau agents rushed to the Florida Panhandle to ensure the authenticity of those results. At the same time, several agents were dispatched with an amnestic to the Democratic Campaign headquarters in the event that SCP-4444 lashed out in an anomalous way. After 2 days of recount with the Florida vote began too close to call, it was determined that George W. Bush had won the election despite a massive disparity in popular vote. Despite expectations that there were to be some kind of anomalous outburst by SCP-4444, in the wake of the results, neither the entity nor Vice President Gore exhibited any signs of unusual activity throughout the entire affair, with the Vice President eventually conceding defeat after several weeks of legal battle. In a letter he wrote to George W. Bush shortly after conceding defeat, the Vice President said the following.
I'll admit, George, I really thought I had you there at the end. Sometimes you get it in your head the way you think things should be, and you forget that just thinking something doesn't make it real. I wanted this more than anything else in the world for a long time, and would have given just about anything to have it. For a time I would have thought the stars themselves were behind me. But I recognize the reality of things, George, and I trust that you'll do the right thing by the office and right by this great country. I don't know if I'd do things differently or if I'd have preferred not to have the alien in my head, but at the end of the day, we are who we are, and time marches on. You've a long road ahead of you, so I won't take up any more of your time. As for me, I think I'm going to take some time off, maybe see the world for a while. That cow ad really got me thinking too. Do you know how much greenhouse gas the United States produces? It's unreasonable, George. Really it is. I hope you address it. I think I'm going to address it too, because it's just too much, George. Those goddamn cows really don't know what they are getting into. Yours truly, Al and Garber.
Since this statement, Al Gore has not publicly addressed SCP-4444, nor has he publicly displayed any unusual anomalous behavior. Due to SCP-4444 still being visible under infrared, Mr. Gore has agreed to wear either clothing or an IR blaster that disrupts infrared photography. Addendum 4444.10 Unidentified phone call. On the night of January 19th, 2000, a phone line originally used for undercover Foundation agents to take inquiries concerning the Republican presidential campaign received a voicemail from an unknown individual. The individual, who has not been identified, made the call from a payphone in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Several secretude. CA question mark. Apple Legos. Talkies, Hankly, Dankly, Kak, any howitzer, forsoothly, as the electron collage has been fill-stuffed, from rims to gin jams. Maximilian Bellotry from Florideer to Floridaire. Indeedings, Uncle Pointy M.R. being several unwelcomers. Found not bigly sufficient for the multitude of the may include. Please am to be disposed exactly lots of standards for services reindeed to thus highest theatre and how Shrubbery Jr. am the ground snack Lester Skaggy.
Addendum 4444.11 Unexplained television ad. The following television advertisement played once on a local television station in the Gainesville, Florida area on November 11th, 2007. SCP-4444 claims to know nothing about the ad, and further investigations into its origin are ongoing. Have you ever wanted it all to just endorse one's diaspora of calamity original of malfeasance? I am Al Gore, and I want to be your last American president.